Hey guys, welcome to today's video. As you can see, I've got a lot of eyeshadow palettes in front of me. In fact, these are all the eyeshadow palettes that I own to date. So today's video is going to be an updated eyeshadow palette collection. I haven't done one of these for almost 2 years now, and safe to say I have accumulated a few more eyeshadow palettes since the last eyeshadow palette collection video that I did. It's gonna be a long one. So grab some popcorn, grab a cup of tea, grab some coffee, I don't know, grab something. For me, I've got coconut water. This is my latest obsession. Now, this has nothing to do with the current video. This was the previous video that I filmed today, and it was just so pretty and it took me so long to do that I just don't want to take it off. So I'm gonna leave it on my arm for now and just appreciate all the prettiness of all these pink eyeshadows. We've got a lot of palettes to get through, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. Before I start going into all of these eyeshadow palettes, I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. Just like Rome wasn't built in a day, neither was my eyeshadow palette collection. These are eyeshadow palettes that I have accumulated over the last 5 years, and I worked hard and I saved hard to be able to purchase these eyeshadow palettes for myself. I don't think, let me see, no, not a single one of these eyeshadow palettes have been sent to me in PR. I bought every single one of these myself. I don't know if that's something I should be proud of or not proud of, but as it stands, that is the case. Now, I don't mean to brag or flaunt any of these things that I own. I'm very blessed and very thankful to have the job and the means to be able to purchase these palettes. And while I know that this is way too many palettes for any one person, this is what I do for YouTube. I absolutely love makeup. It's my obsession, it's my collection. I love it. And if you guys feel uneasy about these type of collection videos where I'm showing the vast amount of eyeshadow palettes that I own, then maybe just click off and watch something else. But for you guys that love makeup collection videos, I know I personally enjoy watching them. This video is for you, and this video is also for me because I enjoy going through the eyeshadow palettes that I own and just being like, oh, it's so pretty. Having said that, and having gotten that out of the way, I'm now going to jump into the first stack of eyeshadow palettes, which is the Juvia's Place palettes right here. Now, if you guys follow me on Instagram and here on YouTube for a while, you'll know that I absolutely love my Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes. I currently own all of them except for the Wahala palette, which I am so patiently waiting for the restock of. The first stack of palettes I've got are the Juvia's Place mini palettes. They have the chocolates, the violets, the nudes, and the berries. So this is the berries palette. Some really nice pink shades here. In fact, some of them are swatched on my arm today. This has 2 shimmer shades and 4 matte shades. Very, very nice palette. You can buy this palette on Juvia's Place website. You can buy it on its own or as a bundle with the other 3 mini palettes. This one is the nudes. It has 3 mattes and 3 shimmers. Oh, and also if I have any corresponding videos for these palettes, and I'm pretty sure I do, I'm gonna leave playlists linked in the description box down below. And I will most likely have swatches of nearly every single one of these palettes as well. Well, not every single one, but a lot of them. This one is the Violets palette. This one has 4 shimmers and 2 mattes. This one is the mini chocolates. This one's a really nice versatile palette. I probably would travel with this one because you can do a really nice smoky eye, or you could just do something natural like this in the crease and that on the eyelid, something really soft and simple, or you could go full out smoky with it as well. The next palette is the Juvia's Place Nomad palette. This one is really pretty. It has 2 metallics, 1 almost sequin type of shade, and the rest are mattes. You know what, I think this video will be better in a, I think this video will be better on a on the table type of format. So let me just reconfigure this and I'll be right back. All right, that's a bit better. The next one is the Nubian 3 Coral eyeshadow palette. This packaging on this one is absolutely stunning. Look at that. I love the packaging on all of Juvia's Place palettes. This one has a really interesting color story. It has so many coral shades here and then 3 just random gray blue type of shades there, but they all kind of seem to go together. They're actually really so pretty. This one is the Nubian, the original Nubian, and this one I absolutely love. This one is really great for traveling, not that anyone is really going anywhere at the moment, but when I do travel, which isn't very often, even when I can travel. But when I do, I take this one with me because it's so versatile. You can do so many looks with it. Smoky, simple, neutral, shimmery. As you can see, it's quite beat up and used, well and truly loved. The next one is the Queen palette. This one was created in collaboration by Fumi with Juvia's Place, and I love the top of this. It's so very nicely designed, all their palettes. This one is probably a palette that I don't use very often because it's just shades that I wouldn't really gravitate towards, and it's not super duper like an eyeshadow palette, but this pink is actually really stunning. I swatched that one on my arm today, and it's a really bright neon type of shade, but the shades in here are really pretty. These two are really great as highlights, and it's just a really nice palette. I definitely love having it as part of my eyeshadow palette collection. I think it was designed to be a little bit of a face palette as well, like blushes, but more geared towards people with a much darker skin tone than myself. This one is the Afrique. I love this palette. It's just so beautiful. Really stunning packaging. Just such bright pops of color. Really aesthetic. However, when it comes to the color story in this one, I'm not entirely sure what the story is. I think it's definitely geared more towards the culture of the Cameroonians or the Africans, but it's a really pretty palette. As far as aesthetics go, it's just really pretty, and it definitely embodies the culture of the people that it represents. This one is the Saharan. Saharan Original #1. There is a Saharan 2. I don't reach for this very often. It is quite a nice palette though. I think if you were able to think outside of the box and try and experiment with the different eyeshadow looks in this, you could come up with something quite pretty. For myself, however, it is not a palette that I gravitate towards very much. I have used it a few times. I probably do need to experiment and play with it a little bit more in order to be able to appreciate it more. But yeah, I really love this gold shimmery shade in there. It swatches so beautifully. I'm gonna swatch it today. Look at that. Like, that wasn't even one full heavy swipe. Anyway, I'm not gonna swatch all the shadows. Obviously, I haven't been. Otherwise, this video would even be so much longer. But that's the Saharan. And this one is the Saharan 2. Look at that. The packaging is so stunning. Whoever drew and designed the packaging for these Juvia's Place palettes needs an absolute raise because it's just so pretty. This one has 6 shimmer shades and 3 matte shades. Warm, deep, warm colors for the mattes. And the shimmers never disappoint. Never disappoint. The pans in this one are quite huge actually. So that one's the Saharan 2. This one I think is no longer available. This one is the Duce. I think they discontinued this one. I'm not quite sure why. It is such a pretty palette, but it kind of reminds me of the color theme in a baby girl's bedroom or nursery. It's just kind of sweet and simple, but it actually gives me the color story vibes of maybe like a young teenage palette, like kids makeup almost. But it's still pretty. So pretty. Look at that. It's still so pretty. Alright, the next one is the Warrior 2. It's definitely not going in order by release date, but I'm just going in order of the stack that I happen to have it in. This is the Warrior 2. Again, very nice neutral palette, pretty packaging. All of the shades in this particular palette are matte. It's a little bit dirty because I have used it a few times, but I love the shades in this palette, and some of these I have used as bronzer as well. Again, the pans are quite large, so I can very easily get a bronzer brush in there. I mean, this one's probably more of my bronze shade. The others would be a bit too dark. For a really dark toned skin person, this would be really nice as a blush. This one goes nicely for me as a bit of a light contour shade as well, and this one goes as a really nice highlight shade, but like a matte moment. The next one is the Tribe. This one is stunning. Like, look at that packaging. It's just bright, neon, gorgeous. Look at the inside. Oh, it's a bit messy. I think I did a bit of a swatch mess with that one, but that's so stunning. Look at it. I want to swatch this one for you. Look how pretty that is. Ah, so pretty. Also, my nail polish are different colors because I couldn't decide which nail polish to get, so I got them both. Because I got 2 hands, may as well put the shades on 2 separate hands, you know? Anyway, that's the Tribe palette. This one is a bright green. Love it. And then I love how it has such a contrasting darker color here as well. This one is the Warrior palette. I think this is the #1, the original Warrior. This one has 5. I can count, I promise. This one has 6 shimmery shades and 3 matte shades. I love these. These are really nice to deepen up a look. I have used this bronzer before. It's just a tad bit too warm as bronzer, but you know, if I go in really lightly. It's really nice. And then I've used these two as highlighters as well. And for people with a much darker skin tone than myself, these would make really gorgeous highlighters as well. So yeah, that's the original Warrior palette. The next one is the Zulu. Look at that. Need I say anything? This is just such a stunning packaging. And the colors are very, very bright. I'm a little bit disappointed with the purple in this palette, but the two pinks in here are really gorgeous. I also have them swatched on my arm today. The overall colors in this palette just can make such a beautiful eye look. I have made an eyeshadow look with this palette before on my channel. It was a while back, so maybe I need to do a new and updated makeup look using it, but that's a really stunning palette. Again, I don't reach for it very often because it's not super wearable shades, but it's still really pretty. This one is the Warrior 3. Now, it's nothing like Warrior 1 or Warrior 2, and I was a little bit confused as to the thought process behind creating Warriors 1 and Warrior 2, because those are very, very neutral colored palettes. Like 1, 2, and then 3 is just so big and bright and bold and out there. So I wasn't entirely sure why that was included in the Warrior family, but you know what? I kind of love it. I'm not mad at the color story. I don't think I really... Oh, I have used this as in a makeup look on my channel before, but it wasn't a very wearable makeup look. I mean, obviously, because you can see by the color story here, but it's, again, a really super colorful and beautiful palette. And I just love having all three. Like, look at that. How pretty is that? Just all three palettes. Alright, I'm going to breeze through the last few Juvia's Place palettes because I have so many more palettes to share with you guys. I'm just grouping them in the brand by brand. Does that make sense? Hope so. This is the Festival. Really super pretty. I love the bright oranges in this one. Well, there's really only one, but I love the bright pops of color in this one. I love the shade. It's so unique. I don't think I have anything else like it in my entire collection. Look at that stunning, stunning teal blue. Like, it's so pretty. I'm not flipping you off, I promise. It's so flippin' pretty, The next is the Masquerade. Now I have the Masquerade Mini and I also have the Masquerade Large. I don't know if the large Masquerade is still available on the website, but I got both because I could. The smaller one, however, is the one that I have actually been using. Really, really pretty colors. I love, this is probably one of my favorite palettes from Juvia's Place. This one, the Magic, and the Nubian 2 are my three favorite palettes, I think, from Juvia's Place. Or, I kind of love all of them, actually, to be completely honest. I love that blue. So pretty. This one is the Nubian 2. As you can remember, I showed you the Nubians 1 and 3. This is the Nubian 2. It's a very different vibe from the 1 and 3. It's a much larger palette with much larger pans in it as well. But this one, I love this palette because of this shade Cleopatra. My camera died and the battery went flat just as I swatched that one, but that is such a pretty shade. It's not showing up as vibrant on camera as it is in person, but it's such a beautiful blue shade. It's an absolutely gorgeous palette, and I guess you can see why it's one of my favorites. It's a bit dirty and dusty now, but I have used and loved on it for a long time now. So that's the Nubian 2. And last but not least, of all the Juvia's palettes, this is probably my second favorite after the Masquerade palette. This is the Magic palette. And as you can see here, there's the pink and gold color story family up here, and then there's the purples and blue and one pop of green in the color story family down here. I don't know, there's just something about it that calls my name. If you love bright, bold, beautiful colors and packaging and palettes, then you'll probably really love the Juvia's Place palettes. If you haven't tried any of them before, you just don't know what to do with the colors, then I'd recommend that you check out my Juvia's Place palette playlist, because there's a lot of videos on there where I've created makeup looks using all these Juvia's Place palettes, so I'd really recommend that. Now, I'm gonna move right along and get into my Morphe palette collection, because that is also another very extensive amount of palettes. These are all my Morphe palettes, so I'm just gonna start from the very top. This one is so old, I don't exactly know where I got it from. I don't think it was from Morphe brushes. I think I bought it secondhand from someplace. And these are all just single shadows that I think I took out of palettes that I was going to give away or get rid of. And I just took the single shadows out of them that I wanted to keep out of the palettes. I think that's what that was. But it's actually a really hefty palette. It's got a decent sized mirror in it. which is kind of dirty, but it's, yeah, I don't know, it's a palette I've had for a while and don't really use, but you know, I've just held on to. The next one is also one of my all-time favorite palettes, and I think it's really only because I support Kathleen Lights. I love her YouTube channel. I watch her all the time, and she was the very first YouTuber actually that I started watching, and it was her that I watched to learn how to apply makeup. And as you can see, I've well and truly loved on this palette. It's also really great for traveling as well, but this is actually the palette that I used on my wedding day to apply my makeup, my mom's makeup, and my 3 sisters' makeup. Really super love that palette. It's probably got a bit of sentimental value to me as well because, yeah, I used it on my wedding day, and Kathleen was one of the first YouTubers that I ever started watching, so I wish they would bring it back, even if it's just for like a limited time for Kathleen Lights, you know, followers. It's such a really versatile palette and I really love it. The next one is probably a more recent purchase for me. This is the Morphe 18B, I think. Yeah, this is the Morphe 18B Make and Bank. I have a makeup tutorial of this one up soon on my YouTube channel. These are the colors. It's actually so pretty, and I love how the color story in this one is laid out. For me personally, I feel like the color story in this palette was really well thought out, and it's just, yeah, a really pretty palette. It became a favorite of mine really quickly after getting it. Normally when I get a palette, it takes some time before I actually really love it, but I'm kind of vibing with the greens at the moment. Might have something to do with my love of houseplants. Now the next two I'm just going to show you guys together. I've got the Jaclyn Hill Volume 1 and Volume 2 eyeshadow palettes. That's that on that. You probably have seen it around. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen these palettes. I'm going to have a makeup look using this palette up on my channel soon. Is actually what I'm wearing today. And this palette here, I don't know, I haven't really used this very much. I did create a look using this palette in like long ago. I think it's Valentine's Day like 3 years ago, so it was a while back, but that video didn't do very well because it was when I first starting out on YouTube. Those are the two palettes. I've got them both. Speaking of Jaclyn Hill, I also have her Vault collection with Morphe. You guys have also probably already seen this. This one's the Armed and Gorgeous palette. Really love that color family. I don't think I've actually used this palette before. Just like looking at it now, I don't think I've actually used it before. Probably should get onto that. This one is Ring the Alarm. It's quite pretty. Actually, this one I haven't used either. I don't think I've got a makeup look using this palette. I probably should do that too. That's really pretty. I love these colors. I probably gravitate more towards warmer colors than cooler tone colors, although I am loving those greens at the moment. This one is is this the Magic? Dark Magic. Now I have created a makeup look using this, but I think I want to do it again because these colors are stunning. I know they're cool tones, and I just got done saying I'm gravitate more towards warmer tones, but these are so pretty. Love these shades. Going through all these palettes again makes me want to use them more. This probably is more my jam out of all of them. This one is called Bling Boss, and as you can see, I have used this one a fair bit. It's so pretty and so stunning. Look at that. So yeah, those are the 4 palettes in the Vault collection that Jaclyn Hill created in collaboration with Morphe. Now I'm gonna go into my larger Morphe palettes. This one is their 39L Hit the Lights. This one was a holiday release, I think. I'm pretty sure, almost. The shades that I have used in this palette, I absolutely enjoyed. Obviously, I haven't used all the shades, but it's just so pretty to look at, and I really love having this one in my collection. The next one is the James Charles Morphe palette. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this one. If you haven't, who are you and where have you been? And this one is the Morphe 39S. Such a gem eyeshadow palette. Love the colors in this palette. However, this is one that I've kind of been disappointed with every time I've used it. The colors, I don't know, maybe I didn't use it correctly, but they just didn't really wet my whistle, so to speak. It's pretty. It's a very gorgeous palette, and it's such a beautiful color story, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't really vibe with it whenever I used it. This one, what is this one? This one is a 35V. This one is probably more of a recent purchase for me. I haven't used this one yet. It's got more neutral, taupey, blue-green type of shades. This is just another one in their 35 palette family. And I've actually got a few in the 35 palette family, like this is all of them. A lot of them are older ones though. That's the 35V. This one, what is this one? This one's the 35M. It is actually really super pretty. I love the green shades in this palette, but I also am loving those purples and pinks. I feel like purples and pinks and greens has been a really popular reoccurring color story recently in a lot of palettes that are being released, and especially with Morphe palettes. I feel like as you get through the Morphe palettes, I feel like if you've got one, you've got them all almost. I say that as I show you all the hundreds and thousands of Morphe palettes that I own, but this one's really pretty. I love their new packaging as well. It just feels so much more sleek. It's a bit dirty, sorry. It's just a bit more sleek compared to their older palettes, which you will now see. This one was kind of like an in-between packaging. My black shade shattered and went absolutely everywhere. This one's a 3502 natural. I think it was in the Naturals palette. I don't know. This is one that kept selling out so quickly. As you can see here, I love that shade. I loved that shade. I haven't used it in a while now, but I obviously loved it for something. Not sure what I used it for, but that's a really nice palette as well for those smoky autumn type of looks, but haven't used that one in a while. Alright, now all of these palettes here are the older Morphe packaging. So what I'm going to show you here isn't necessarily the type of packaging that they will come in if you do decide to purchase these palettes now. This one's a 35F. This is actually the very first Morphe palette that I ever purchased. So while I haven't used it in a while, it does have a fair bit of sentimental value for me. The very first time I saw Morphe being talked about, I saw Kathleen Lights talking about it, and this is the specific palette that she was talking about. And so that's why I went and bought it, and thus started my love for Morphe palettes. So after purchasing that one, I went and purchased nearly all of them. This one is a 35R. I don't think I've used this like ever. Maybe just like swatched some colors when I was playing with them. 35R, it doesn't really like excite me or anything. It's just kind of like it's a nice palette, type of palette, but wouldn't really run to it when I'm looking for these particular shades. I'd probably more go to a different palette. This one is a 35B. Now this one also has a lot of sentimental value for me because when I first started going into makeup, this is amongst some of the very first palettes that I ever purchased. When I was going into makeup, I loved experimenting with color. Like I would go all in with different colors every single day. Back in the day, I used to go ballroom training and I would love to do different eye looks every single time. So after coming home from work, I'd take a shower and go straight to putting on my makeup and then go train at the studio for a few hours, and I'd always have a different color in my eyes. So this is the palette that I used for that. The pigments in this palette aren't as good as they are now. I feel Morphe has definitely formulated and reformulated and gotten better with their formulations of eyeshadows. So I'm really just keeping this one for sentimental purposes. This one's a 35O. Again, not really something I use very often. It's just kind of dusty because I think maybe it's just a little bit old now and the shades have gotten a bit dry, but I don't know why I don't throw these out. I probably should just throw them out or something. I don't know. Use them in a makeup destruction video, I guess. This one is the 35T. Now this one I have not really used a lot. Yeah, there's not much more to say about it. I have played and swatched these shades a lot and just... Actually, that shade still feels quite good. It doesn't feel super dry. Yeah, it's really pretty, but it doesn't super blow me away or anything. So that is the 35T. This one is the Morphe 35OS palette. And this one is the same as the 35O, but S means like all the shades are shimmer. That 35O palette did so well that they came out with another release where one palette was all matte and one palette was all shimmers, but with the exact same shades. And I think they really capitalized on the fact that the 35O did so well. The shades in this, again, are really super pretty, but doesn't really call my name. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, doesn't super excite me anymore. I just love having in my collection. This one is the 35K. Now this palette I absolutely loved on so much. When I was doing my Halloween series, I think it was the very first Halloween series that I ever did where the theme was easy makeup looks, I used this one so much. Like I used the black, you can see the indentation in there, and I used the white so much for the shading and highlight of the makeup looks that I did. Love this palette. I still would definitely recommend this palette for anyone who is looking for a really versatile palette where you can do a whole range of different colors. And if you're wanting to do special FX makeup and you just needed a palette that would be great for your shading and highlight, I would definitely recommend the 35K palette because it's so versatile. And I still reach for this one actually. It's still a really good palette for me. This one's a 35P. Purples, if you've been on my channel, you'll know that I keep saying over and over again that purples are a shade that's quite difficult to formulate to make them come out really bright and super pigmented and not patchy at all. So this again is one of Morphe's older palettes. Like this one's been around for a little while. So keeping in mind that this palette is quite old, the purples in this palette also didn't quite, you know, apply really nicely for me. But I still like to keep it in my collection because I think it's great for like pictures sometimes if I want to take product photos, but you have something different as colors in the background. I think that's why I keep a lot of these palettes, because, you know, I use them for photos on Instagram sometimes. This one's a 35U. Again, this is in the same category as the 35B for me, where I used to wear a lot of bright, different, colorful eye looks to the studio when I used to train for ballroom. And this, as you can see, I have used this one a fair bit. The purple I've hit pan on. I don't know how I even hit pan on that one. Again, this one has a little bit more of a chalky consistency in eyeshadows. Morphe has definitely updated and upgraded their formulation in eyeshadows since releasing this one. And I would say if you purchased this eyeshadow palette today, like this one was one of their first releases, if you purchased this eyeshadow palette today, it would be in the newer packaging, and I would say that the eyeshadows are probably a whole lot better now than they were back then when this particular palette was manufactured. I don't know, that's just something that I think would be the case. I can't prove it, but I don't see why Morphe would keep old crap formulation in newer packaging, if that makes any sense. So yeah, anyway, if you know the answer to that theory, then let me know in the comments down below, because I would like to be educated. So that's all the Morphe palettes that I own. My hands are so stained at the moment. My hands aren't dirty, they're just stained from touching all the eyeshadow palettes. Alright, now I'm gonna go into all the eyeshadow palettes that I kind of have that are like, almost like random eyeshadow palettes. Not really random, but just palettes that I don't have large amounts of in the same brand. Does that make sense? So these are all kind of like my miscellaneous palettes, so to speak. Okay, now I know how a lot of you feel about Jeffree Star Cosmetics, but as it is, I do own the large Jawbreaker palette and the Mini Breaker palette. I just really hate to admit it that Jeffree Star has such good formulation on his eyeshadows. They are some of the best eyeshadows that I have ever used in my entire life, other than the Tati Beauty palette. That one I still think is the best formulation of eyeshadows that I have ever used, and I'm probably just a little bit biased, and a lot of you will probably come for me for that, but it's okay. I'm free to have my own opinion, as you are allowed to have your own opinion. I will not be supporting Jeffree Star anymore here on my channel, but I have already actually paid good money for these palettes, so while I'm going to keep them, I'm probably not going to promote these products on my channel anymore. Now, these two palettes I purchased because I love Bretman Rock. Now, I know he is so extra and he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he is Filipino and I'm Filipino, so I love to support some fellow Pinoys. Now, these two palettes he created in collaboration with ColourPop. This one is the wet collection and this is the lit. I bought the entire collections of these palettes. That's what they look like inside. There's a little red moment, there's a little blue moment right there. Such pretty palettes, and I have used these before. The formulation of these are absolutely stunning, as ColourPop always has been. I've got the Salvaje palette, which was ColourPop's collaboration with Becky G. Such pretty shades in there as well, but I probably really bought the entire collection more just for the packaging, because look how stunning that packaging is. Oh, so pretty. This one is the Zodiac palette. This one Kathleen Lights created in collaboration with ColourPop. I would love to purchase her So Jaded palette, but I don't think ColourPop is fulfilling orders currently due to COVID. But when they are again, I'm going to purchase her So Jaded palette. But this one is her Zodiac palette. Hi! I also got her Dream Street palette. Now this one's actually in my project pan, which probably explains why this palette is so dirty. But I am doing my best to actually just hit pan on at least one of these. I'm not doing very well with it, as you can see. There's a bit of a dent in that one, a bit of a dent in that one, but I'm just not really getting anywhere with this palette anyway. And the last one I own from ColourPop is this one called Golden State of Mind. They are all pressed shimmers in this palette. Look how stunning that palette is. It's not really a very wearable palette. In fact, I haven't reached for this one in so long. The shades, the shimmers, the metallicness of this palette is just like on point. It's almost like pressed pure metallic with a bit of shade pigment in them. Does that make sense? Probably not. Anyway. Alright, so those are all my ColourPop palettes. The next one is my Focalure palette. This one was actually sent to me in PR for review. Oh, what? Oh, it's broken. There we go. Well, that kind of explains how I feel about this palette overall. I don't really think I need to say any more. I don't know, it's just a very underwhelming palette for me, as is the brand itself. It's just, I mean, there's a few products that I like in the things that they sent me, but just overall, the brand as a whole for me is a bit underwhelming. This one is the one and only Zoeva palette that I own. Now this one was sent to me in my BoxyCharm. I have not yet tried it, but it is so pretty. Really nice, neutral, natural color story moment here. I actually really love the packaging of this. It's just really pretty, and I'm just gonna keep it in the sleeve for a little bit more until I actually use it. This one is the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette. Actually, I really like this palette. I haven't used it very much, but the colors that I have used in this palette are actually really stunning. They really stand out there, the colors. I don't know, I don't really gravitate towards this one very much. I almost feel a little bit adolescent, loving all the bright colorful pops of color in palettes, but I suppose that's my inner child coming out. Alright, this one is my Z palette, and these ones have all my Makeup Geek shades in them. Again, it's not really something I reach for very often, and they are kind of already a little bit dry now because I've had these eyeshadows for so long already. But, I mean, they're really stunning colors now. They just don't perform as they used to back in their heyday. Now, this one was one of the very first eyeshadow palettes that I ever purchased with my very own money. This one is the BH Cosmetics Foil Eyeshadow Palette. And it's probably a little bit dry now, but from what I remember, these were really good back in the day. But they're all metallics. I think that's what drew me to them. Even to this day, I love the metallic shades. This one is the Tati Beauty eyeshadow palette. And I must say, while the whole world is going nutso about Tati at the moment, I'm still gonna stand my ground and say this is one of the best eyeshadow palettes that I have ever used, and I'm still really excited to see what else she comes out with in the future, because I'm definitely gonna buy it. I don't care what anyone says. Alright, now I'm gonna finish up with the most expensive eyeshadow palettes that I own. This one is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. Don't super love it. I love having it in my collection, and the colors are absolutely stunning, but as far as performance goes, it's not something I reach for very often. It's probably something I would reach for if I wanted just like a really nice natural wash of color, a bit of shimmer on the eyelid, and that's it. I found that you can't really go in with this palette like a full-on Instagram eyeshadow look. It's not made for that. I think it's made for real makeup artists, which I am not. This one is the Sunset palette, and I love the packaging on this. Like, love the packaging. It's just so bougie, and it feels so expensive, which it is. This is what it looks like on the inside. I haven't used it a whole lot. I don't know how that bit got gouged out in that shade there, but anyway, I don't know. Really super pretty palette, and I'm just really lucky to have this in my collection, you know? The next one is the Lila palette. This one, also very stunning packaging, same as this one. Really super pretty colors. I love that purple and that pink there. Just the bright pops of color always call my name. This one is the Star palette. This one I've had for a little while now, but I haven't really used a whole lot of. I have done a swatch video of this one up on my channel, and from what I remember, this shade here, and I think it was just these shimmery ones here, they felt like pressed glitters that are so soft. You dip one finger in it and it goes poof everywhere, like everywhere, as you can see here. I really like having this palette in my collection. I really feel like it's just a really nice addition to round off a collection. Now, this is probably the most expensive eyeshadow palette that I have ever purchased in my whole entire life. I even got it on 50% off, and it was still the most expensive palette that I've ever purchased in my whole entire life. I got it 50% off from a Sephora sale, and I haven't even touched it yet because I just don't want to ruin it. I just want to keep it pristine and pretty for all the days of my life because I spent so much money on it. But, you know, it could go either way. I spent so much money on it so I use it, or I spend so much money on it that I don't touch it. I don't know, I'm kind of stuck here, but I am going to create a swatch video for you guys with this palette. That's that on that. And having finished with that, that concludes my eyeshadow palette collection. I'm finished. I made it through. Whew. That was a lot of talking. That's it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know how long it's gonna get to. I'm gonna edit it down as much as I possibly can, but I breezed through the palettes as much as I could without yammering on too much about each and every one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you love collection videos, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what part of my collection you would like to see next, and I shall definitely film that for you guys. If you want to see a specific swatch video of any one of these palettes, let me know as well in the comments, and I will also do that for you guys. I guess there's not much more to say other than thank you so much for watching. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say thank you guys. I really truly appreciate you. Even those of you who watch the absolute end of my videos, I just really appreciate you. I love you guys so much. So thank you for watching this video. I shall catch you guys in my next one. Bye.